Hey guys, you're listening to the Energy of the Untamed Heart podcast, where we talk about uncaging your divinely gifted wild heart to be as free and expansive as you were born to be. My goal is to use our stories, guest interviews, and your questions to tease out what has been keeping your wild heart under wraps. I'm your host, Mielle Fox, and together we will shatter the myths of our old stories to set our wild heart free. So thanks for choosing you and showing up today. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Energy the Untamed Heart podcast. Today, my guest is Tiffany O'Hearn. I'm very excited to have this conversation today with Tiffany because she comes to the world with many gifts and offerings to help us humans find our path, find a way to really let go of a lot of the wounding and the stories and the history and all the things and really own the beauty of who we really are at our deepest core. And she comes through that with a variety of modalities, including some astrology and some generational wound healing, trauma healing, tapping, a lot of different modalities. So I can't wait to have this conversation. And without any further ado, Tiffany, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And I gotta be honest, I think you need to write my bio because you perfectly summed that up in the most beautiful way. I really appreciate the time that you took to kind of get to know me from that background a little bit. And yeah, that sums it up. I mean, really the biggest thing is how do we come back home? You know, how do we come back home to self? And right now, I really call myself a holistic healer. I do a lot of energy work, astrology work, meditation, but I also know a lot about nutrition and I know a lot about herbs and I know a lot about all that stuff because it's all about, again, how do we come back home? Because in the world that we live in, it's set to distract us in every possible way, right? It's also set to to remind us that, like, no, we are the victim. And it is our fault. I mean, it's not our fault. It's our parents' fault. And it's, the president's fault. And it's, it's the environment's fault. And it's the weather's fault. And it's everybody else's fault. When really we create everything around us. I mean, truly, right? And so not that we create the weather, but how we receive it is a creation of within, you know? And
Absolutely.
so, right, how do we find that joy and love from within? Because it's nowhere external. And most of us seek for it external, not because we do it intentionally, but it's because that it becomes that unconscious programming.
Yeah, I think the programming is such a huge thing from all areas. It's clearly from your how you're raised in your family unit, whatever that's defined as. It's from your cultural, social environment, wherever you live and are raised, your educational environment, where do you go to school or homeschool or whatever school one has. And of course, now in today's world, we have so much social media programming. Oh my gosh, I just got to put the phone down sometimes where it bombards you from, I mean, a plethora of social media avenues, whether it's your Instagrams and your TikToks or your Snapchats or your, I don't know, whatever it is. I'm archaic. I'm pre cell phone. I'm pre WWW. Like I'm like go out and play in the dirt and don't come home till the lights come on kind of girl, right? Like I'm
Right.
old school. So although I've adapted to this new technology, I also find it truthfully, it's almost a little bit overwhelming because if there's like no off switch. Our off
There,
switch as kids was go outside and get dirty, like go and climb a tree, go and I don't know, pick acorns, go do something. But
right.
now, what do you get? You're bombarded 24/7.
And
And I
that's
think it
not
takes a toll.
It does, and that's not how humans are nature. We are nature. We cannot get away from that. And however, if you really look at it, and I love that you brought up like the WW, right? I grew up in 80, 82. So, it was very much go play outside. Now we've still had a lot of the generational trauma that's not necessarily going anywhere. But in terms of us being able to turn off, in terms of us being able to use our imaginations and really just understand that there's still that freedom, right? And then 10 years later, my mom had another child. And it was like, no, you can't go outside by yourself, right? Because the world changed so dramatically in the next 10 years. And that came to a lot of what we're talking about, the influence of outside sources, where now children aren't allowed to go outside because it's not safe. it's not safe. And I get that. And there's no discount to that. But really, if we're looking at it, we're talking about the last 30 years where our life has truly changed. And it has become a giant distraction from ourselves. And so we need to be super, super curious as individuals, but also intentional and conscious of the fact that this is going on around us. Because, right, if we don't, we go, oh, I don't know how that happened. I don't know why I'm miserable. I don't know why I don't like my life. Nobody else likes their life around me, too. Right. Yeah. Because everyone's doing the same things, you know? And so, how do we come back to self? How do we, you know, get dirty? I mean, seriously, I spend most of my summers hiking the Appalachian Trail, which I'm sure you can, right? You live in a backpacking country, right? Like that's what you do. And like I'll go out for a week and be the most dirty, so to speak, but the most clean, you know?
Yes.
I mean, that's, nowadays kids come in from inside and all you ever hear is have you washed your hands? And I'm like, why would they wash their hands? They were outside playing with sticks and dirt and grass and leaves. That's beautiful. That's what they should be doing. They're not licking shopping carts or touching shopping carts. It's a totally different animal. But dirt is not dirty,
Right. That's
you know?
it's so true. It's so true. If you look at a lot of our population, if you said, "Hey, let's go take a walk in the woods and, count leaves and trees and look for paw prints," or I don't know, whatever one wants to do out there, I can pretty much bet you 8 out of 10 would say, "No, I'd rather watch TV, I'd rather play on my phone, I'd rather whatever." And I will say, I fortunately made a choice, oh my gosh, almost 40 years ago, to move to an area that, for all intents and purposes, is not very highly inhabited, I shall say, because I thrive on being out in nature. And that in itself, that I sort of take for granted, that I can walk out the back door and I'm in nature. For a lot of people, that doesn't even exist. And then I think, to bring this kind of conversation a little bit back around, I think that plays into, people don't recognize that they're externalizing everything because it's become their norm. And it's so their norm because they don't have an awareness, a self-awareness, to say to themselves, like, oh, is this the only way this might look? Oh, is this the only way this could feel? Oh, is this the only way this could present? Oh, is it possible that it could be a different way? Because they don't have the awareness it could be anything else. So therefore the curiosity doesn't get sparked to consider it. And then there's the whole self responsibility. Oh, well, if I externalize everything, then it's never my fault. It's the
Right.
economy, it's the weather, it's the politics, it's the, I don't know, whatever, it's the lady down street, it's whatever the thing is. And I think the biggest thing that happens when people realize, like, wow, I actually have the capacity within myself to shift everything outside of myself by changing what's within me, by seeing the beauty of how I can be within myself, and that will change what is projected outside of you. It's really fascinating. I mean, this is the kind of conversation that I really enjoy kind of digging in deep to, because it really begs you to question, like, all right, so we're all here, we all know we're all here to experience the thing, but when you block everything else out around you and you define yourself only externally, then you don't even have a glimpse into the amazingness that you're on this huge treasure hunt journey and what a blast it could be. You just assume, oh, I'm just here for the drudgery of 80 years of whatever the
Right.
thing is that you do.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's very
Yeah.
chaotic inside too. And that's what we also dismiss because most of those people that we're speaking of, right? And it's of no judgment. It actually comes from a lot of compassion because you don't know what you don't know, right? But a lot of them are on probably a lot of pharmaceuticals to try to make them feel better. Because again, it's not their fault, right? And we're getting
Mhm.
farther and farther away from ourselves. But the reality is we are human beings and we are here to learn lessons. And so, you know, I've it's interesting sometimes when you meet somebody on a journey because everyone here is on a journey and it's not mine to define where yours is or you know I can't even say I'm more advanced on my journey than yours because we're not going in the same path, so right, but
Right.
I'm on my journey that I've been working on, pretty consciously, intensely for the last 5 years. And so what I know about us human beings is or how I even receive or perceive things in my life is to get curious and understand that there's a lesson here. And the faster we learn a lesson, the faster we move past whatever it is, you know? We often talk about fear, and fear is just an energy. And if we can see the fear, honor the fear, and move, fear dissipates. And that's not something that we hear, right? We often hear on social media, especially depending on where we are, or the news, or this and that. It's all very fear based, and it's set to put us in a box. But I'm not built for a box, and I refuse to be in anyone's box. I refuse to build the walls up beside myself, because we're not fit for that. We're fit for expansion. We are made to be the creators of our big, beautiful, loving life. And simply turning that vibration around, and just thinking, I mean, something that I'm really focused on now is like our thoughts. So often we think that they're mine and they're valid and right, but they're not yours. They're happening. And if you can sit back and actually witness them, you understand that they are made up of so many other things, but not necessarily what you think or feel. And that can be very confusing for us. And so, in order for us to stop the constant barrage of thoughts, is to really challenge it. And something that I work on, as much as I can now, is when something negative comes into my view, because I don't want to vibrate negativity. That's not who I am. And so if a negative thought comes, I trust, I surrender that everything is working out to the highest good for me. And I just give it away. And I might have to say it a couple times in reminder to that. But we have to be that one to program that subconscious mind. Because when we become conscious of it, we realize that 90% of what travels through isn't ours, you know?
Absolutely. And I think what you said is so valid. The point of being the observer. Being the observer really allows you to determine, is the thing that you're thinking, is the thing that you're patterning, is it really your truth? Is it really right for you, true for you? Or again, is it a story or something that you've been taught or told forever? And it's all well and good when we're little, because you don't really know any better when you're 5. I mean, you just don't. It takes a certain number of years for your consciousness to develop. But you certainly sure do know when you're 20, 30, 40, 50, I'm pushing 60 plus. You absolutely have that capacity to sit back and say, "Oh, hang on a second. Let me just take a look at this." And really say, like, "Hey, is this true for me? Is this real for me?" And get curious. So that's one thing that has worked really, I'm going to say, really well for me over the decades. It's really helped me get through a lot of those, like, wow, could we get any, like, you feel you're at the bottom of the barrel, could it possibly get any more bottom or any more barrely? And then when you stop, you go, well, wait a second. I'm sure there's something here. I'm sure there's something here that's working in my better interest. And you're right. When you can just sit with it, nobody wants to be in low vibe all the time, but can you sit with it for all of what, 90 seconds before it can transmute to something? Can you sit with it and observe it and not connect your story to whatever that thing is? Because it truly isn't the fear or the fill in the blank. It is the story that you connect and attach to it that becomes the thing that's weighing you down. And when you can sit with it for that window and allow it to transmute, allow it to move through, that's when I think we can create that transformation. So
Absolutely.
yeah, but I think we're also now, especially now, we're built in, and I would say now, especially now, because we're built into we want an instant, whether it's instant gratification or instant healing or instant response or instant whatever. We want instant. Instant's like a big deal for folks now. Whereas, when you say to somebody, "Oh, well, that can wait. I can give you a ring a little later." "Oh, no, no, text me right on that. Text me about that. Let me know right away. How come you didn't email me back right away?" Whoa. Well, okay. Back in the day, you might have had to actually put a stamp on an envelope and tell your friend something that took 3 days. Hello. So
Right.
this whole thing, like, I got to have it in 30 seconds, and why haven't you responded to my question already? That to me just feeds into this whole I don't even know what to call it. I mean, it's just like everybody's on hyperspeed to go nowhere. I don't quite get it, but which really makes me really honor and appreciate the slowdown. And I call the slowdown like literally, let me walk down the dirt road with the dog. Let me just slow down and allow my body to absorb the sunshine or the rain or the snow or the wind or the smell of the air or the crunchiness under my feet. Like, let me reconnect to that which is truly who you really are speaking to is in your heart and your soul, not let me see how fast I can walk a quarter mile down the road because I got to turn the laundry over and I got to get on the computer and somebody might text me and oh, I can't walk without my earbuds in because you know what? I got to check my phone while I'm walking. This like need to multitask and obliterate awareness dumbfounds me some days. I just I really feel like in order for us to reconnect, we need to disconnect. And I don't mean
Yes.
from each other, I mean from all the stuff.
No, because Miel, you bring up such a beautiful point. The more that we are thinking we're staying connected, we are so disconnected. And so, in order for
Yes.
us to connect, it is exactly to disconnect because your friends are not on the internet, right? You can have great connections, and I'm not discounting that. You can have heartfelt connections, but there's something about human contact that cannot be dismissed. There's something about a community that cannot be dismissed. And there's also something about when was the last time you actually spent time with yourself? And that can be huge. Most of us, do we know how to go for a walk? Do we know how to stroll without a time limit, without our phone? Right? Do we know how to do that? Do we know how to reconnect with self? Do we know how to sit our back up against a tree? Do we remember how to read? And I don't say that in a rude way, right? It's more just like that funny, like, have you held a book? You know what I mean? Because if your life feels chaotic, the chaos is inside. If your life feels depressing, the depression is inside. The anxiety is inside. And there's this whole crazy, you know, crisis where we need to like, hey, how you doing? Well, I'm upright. What? What?
Right?
Right? Like, oh, things are
Like if
good.
that's
I
the highlight of your day is all you can say is I'm upright,
Right.
that's
Right.
a pretty significant message. Yeah.
Is or and then people want to validate each other with their OCDs and their anxiety, and I'm like, no, that's not something to bond over. I want to bond over nature. I want to bond over how do we help ourselves? Because if I'm like, oh, Meow, do you like your pen when it's in this particular spot? You're like, oh, no, no, no. I have to have it in this spot. No, we're just talking about things that we're trying to control, and they are all outside of ourselves. And I'm not interested in that. And it can be like, do I like things a certain way? Sometimes, yes. But have I done my best to distance myself from the fact that they rule over me at any capacity? Yes, because they're just stuff and things. And if I'm so stuck to my phone that if I lose it, then that's the end of the world, then there's a disconnect there. I was hiking last summer and we were going on a 2-day hike with my daughter. And on the first day, my phone completely disappeared, like kind of like weirdly so. And I just said, okay, okay, it's gone. Yeah, I have to get a new one, but that's not right now. I still have 2 days of hiking. And it was so liberating to not have my cell phone.
Absolutely.
It was
I will
so
I will tell
liberating.
you, I actually intentionally every summer go off grid, like literally off grid. There's no power, there's no this, there's no that, there's no TV, there's no radio, there's no Wi-Fi, there's nothing, nothing. Intentionally for a good 48 hours at a crack, maybe longer if I can get time off from work for it. And it is the most liberating and grounding event that you can do because you can't, one, run away from yourself. There's nowhere to go. You can't fill your time with, I got things to do because there's nowhere to go. And you're not constantly stimulating yourself externally through technology and sound and so on and so on. I do it on purpose to force myself to get back to what I feel is important for me. And I would suggest it to anybody. Get yourself
Mm,
off grid for a little bit.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
really good for you. It
And
really is.
And your
Yeah.
body's demanding it. Your soul is demanding it because I know I get wrapped up in the rabbit race myself sometimes. And I'm like, oh, I'm so busy. And I just wish I had a break. And then the break comes and you're like, well, I'm bored. What can I do?
Right?
Right? Because we're so programmed to go, go, go. You know,
Yeah.
I love going for walks with my daughter because she takes her sweet ass time.
Yeah.
And I have a choice. I can either be frustrated or I can join her.
Yeah.
And so I always choose to join her, you know, because the alternative is that chaos inside, that dissonance inside. And that's not what I'm here for. And so it does take a great work, a great effort at first, you know? And what we're talking about is ridiculously simple and uneasy. And I empathize with that, right? Because we've practiced this, you know? So for somebody listening, they might think, no, you're crazy. There's no way I could do any of that, right? And it's like, yeah, we get that. But we all started someplace. So what's the one thing you can do to connect with yourself? Just the one thing, right? I always say, let's just be 1% better because everyone's trying to be 100% better. And then we say, well, we failed. Yeah, of course you failed because we can't be 100% at anything. We haven't experienced life in them, you know? But what's the one thing you can do for you? Can you just go outside and look up? You may not have done that in a very long time. So just try that. Just go outside and look up and see what you say. Right? Like
Yeah.
take the earbuds out of your ears. You know, and that's the other thing too. Like I'm sitting here, I have two shungai little temples here because I'm here and I'm in front of my computers. I have the Wi-Fi, I have the Bluetooth going, and that's not good for our energetic makeup. And
Nope.
we need it, right? Because we're here, we're having this beautiful conversation with each other. But at the end of that, I'm sitting on a grounding mat. Like, how can I still connect with myself when I'm somewhat disconnected? You know?
Yes.
Because our bodies aren't made for that. And it causes that anxiety, it causes that chaos inside. I mean, with the food systems and the Wi Fi alone, you know, it's a total disconnection.
It totally is, and I think now more than ever, people are, whether they recognize it or not, they are craving that reconnection, and it comes out in different ways. And I think it's up to people like you and me to say, hey, you know what? You don't have to get it all in a day, but you sure as heck can start somewhere and start easy and start simple and be nice to yourself and don't judge it. Just do it. You don't have to, it's like, how can you say I'm a marathon runner if you've never even tied your damn sneakers on and walked down the road? Like, how's that happening? Right? Like, you
Right?
got to start somewhere. Nobody becomes the best at something without the baby steps.
Right.
And being self-aware is truly no different. It's absolutely no different. You just have to make the decision like, oh, I value myself enough that I'm willing to take the opportunity to teach myself or to get taught, whatever that is for you, however that needs to work for you. Yeah.
Awareness is really the seed of motivation,
Yeah.
you know, because at first we have to acknowledge. First, we have to be aware of the fact that, oh, they're right. I am this. That's great. You may not want to do anything with it right now today, and that's okay. But maybe at some point this weekend, or maybe some point next weekend, you think to yourself, I remember that, and now I'm going to do something about it because now it's time and I'm primed and ready. And it's all about just coming back to that sense of self and having that great, big, beautiful awareness. You know, how often do we do things unconsciously, right? Get in our car, we go, oh, I'm home. I don't know.
I don't remember the drive.
Right,
I know. I have heard myself say this. I come home after I've had a really long day and I've just sort of zoned my whole drive, and I'll get home and I'll say to my partner, I don't remember the drive home. Like, next thing I knew, I was getting off the exit. And I have to say, as soon as those words come out of my mouth, I'm like, whoa, there's your sign.
right,
Like,
right,
that's not good. So yeah, I think you and I are saying very, very, very much the same thing. I like very much the way that you say, well, if you're feeling depressed on the outside, go look within. If you're feeling anxious on the outside, go look within. If you're experiencing chaos on the outside, go look within. And my version of saying that is I feel everything that we engage in and everyone we
within
engage
24
with
hours.
is a
So,
mirror or a reflector of ourselves, either a mirror of where could we do a little work, or a mirror of, oh, this is this is something I'm either projecting and so I see it mirrored back to me, or this is an area that's being shown to me as a reminder of where could I get curious.
And so often we forget that. We've forgotten that over the time that, everyone is just a mirror of ourselves, our partners, our children, our dogs. They're just mirroring. So when we feel that rise, when we feel reactionary, they're just pointing out, they're reflecting something out, something back at us that is a wound or a trauma or something that we are being asked to heal. And that's the beautiful thing about the universe is they will send you people, things, and signs all over because the universe is it's here to support us and help us grow and evolve, right? But how open are we to seeing that? And so if you look at your partnership right now and you think, well, no, it's actually pretty dismal and I don't like it, the answer isn't to go get another partner because you will simply bring on the same partner. The answer is to reflect in thyself. And I don't know about you, but whenever my partner triggers something in me or my child triggers in something in me, I don't get mad at them. I say, oh, there's a lesson here.
Yep.
Sometimes I get kind of excited because I'm like, oh, here's another thing that I get to heal, you know, because it is that. And I'll tell you, my my daughter's 8.5, she'll be 9 coming up. And just the other night, she was telling me about some of her friends at school. And, she's like, and Mama, this one said this. And she goes, but I don't take it seriously. And she's like, because I know it's just a reflection of how they feel inside. Yes, it is
Yeah.
exactly, it is exactly that. And so we personalize everything. We personalize the guy that cut us off. Like he was like, oh, I cannot wait for Miel to come out right now. I am going to get her. That's not happening. That's never happened, right? Like that's not a thing. They're doing their life, they're having their experience, right? So where's our compassion? But here's the thing. If we don't love others, it's because we don't love ourselves. If we don't have compassion for others, it's because we don't have compassion for self, right? Again, it's all this big giant mirror. And it all really needs to be equitable because that's the law of attraction, you
Hmm.
know? And so if we sit and think to ourselves, well, I have no money, money's never going to come. You're right. That's manifestation. You're literally manifesting that. My health is poor. I'm never going to get better. You're right. That's manifestation, right? That's the law of the universe. And so instead of asking, how does this, where, why does this suck? Think to yourself, well, what is my lesson? And that will move you through it faster than sitting in your own funk of it all, and
Yeah.
I get it. Life is hard. I'm not, I will not discount that. I have had a whole boatload of hard things in my life, right? But it's what you do with it that matters.
Absolutely.
And it's what you do next, more importantly, right? Because we have this conversation and you can say to yourself, I'm reacting. And to me, whenever we react, we're just bumping on a drum. When we respond to life, we're free and clear, right? We're good. But when we react, no, we've bumped up on something.
Yeah.
And so if we can sit back and say, why did that trigger me? We have power. And that's what we seek throughout all of our lives is to have that power and control. Seek it from outside of ourselves. We cannot control. What can we control outside of ourselves? I mean, there isn't a thing that we can control outside of ourselves. We try. We sure do try to control the dog, the spouse, the kids, the weather, the media. We try to control the people driving on the road. We're all
Yeah.
just here having our own experiences, and every one of those matters. And we don't get a judge. We don't get to sit in the seat of judgment. We can sit in the seat of compassion. We have to have compassion for ourselves first and foremost.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's so spot on. And especially right now, I think things are going to be a little more chaotic before they settle out. And so the tools that you offer and share and bring to your clients, I think are even more important now than maybe they were 20 years ago. I mean, I just think to myself, holy bananas. But at the same time, I'm like, all right, universe, I got this. Oh, you're gonna work with me.
Yeah.
I'm a work in progress, but I know you're gonna work with me. So for people who want to get a hold of you, who want to have some of the magic of what you share and offer to help them really see these mirrors and see that they have the capacity to be in the driver's seat of their lives through who they really are, how can they find you? How can they get more support with you?
I really invite anyone to just truly just follow me on social media because, a lot of times we hear something and we think, well, that might resonate, but I share this. This is a passion of mine just to share this coming back home. And I do it through so many different ways. So I really invite you and I really thank you. It's, on Instagram, it's Tiffany dot my last name, which is Ohearn. On Facebook, I can be found at Tiffany O'Hearn. On TikTok, it's I am Tiffany O'Hearn. And I have a podcast. I have all sorts of little things to, just to help you. I do astrology too. I do astrology readings. I actually bridged it with AI so that you can take your own journey, because astrology is such a big, beautiful energy. It is a blend of all of who we are. And so a lot of times when we don't know our astrology chart, because we are more than just our horoscope or our sun sign that we find in a newspaper. And so if I know where my Mars is, then I know where I can lead. I know where I can have action. If my I know where my Mercury is, I know where I can use my voice, the loudest, the biggest. My Venus, how I show up in relationships. And it goes on and on. So I have a
Oh,
51
yes.
a 51-page PDF for $75 that is the deepest dive within yourself that you will ever find. And I invite you to do it because it's designed to bring you back home to self. And so all of that can be found on all of my social channels. I'm here for any type of support. I do energy healing where we can really work on, those wounds and traumas, because we are meant to heal them. We are meant to move past them. We are not meant to shoulder them, burden them, right? We're really not. And so, how do we reconnect with self? And it doesn't matter where you're at, I'm here to support in whatever capacity with which your soul is demanding that or asking.
Beautiful. It's beautiful. It's perfect. And I love the fact that we have options. There are lots of options to hear the messages of how can we support ourselves through knowing some information about ourselves. So whether that's coming through an astrology reading, a numerology reading, some people like to go through human design. The beauty of all these different potential modalities and languages is that they share information however one needs to absorb it in the best way for each individual. And so I think it's a beautiful offering to give somebody without getting too wild and crazy. Like, you don't have to know all the nitpicky little degrees and all the little things, but you sure can get a nice good overview and a good picture of, oh, so this isn't just like I open the globe and I read my daily scope and there you go. I mean, it's deeper than that. It's more than that. And to be able to get that information and then also have access to more than just that for really going down a path of healing and transformation is really amazing.
Yeah, and
Amazing.
it becomes permission too, because it becomes this permission slip for you that you didn't know that you needed. When you look at your life and you say, "No, oh, this is why I am. This is it, right? This is why." And so instead of saying, "Well, this is a limit of mine," right? Like, I'm here to talk. I'm here to speak. So instead of making myself quiet, I don't need to. That's not who I am. It's in order for me to brace and speak from my true authenticity, speak from my true soul. It's to speak. And I don't know what
Yes.
yours is, but there's something in there and it gives you that permission to remember who you are, right? It is as simple as that. And
Yep.
so I also love how you said the globe, because I know exactly what you're talking about. And I haven't heard that word in a while. So
I know, right? So funny. So for the listeners who don't know, Tiffany and I are both on the East Coast. We're both in New England, and we actually don't live all that far apart. We didn't know that. So there are a lot of things that some of them still exist from our neck of the woods, and some of them don't. But it's kind of fun doing a little down memory lane.
yeah.
But oh my gosh, Tiffany, so good. I really appreciate you taking the time today. This was so much fun, just so fun.
Yeah,
And
it was. And I
yeah.
appreciate all the listeners as well. And, just remember, we're not looking for 100% here, and neither should you, right? It's just about how can you be 1% better in whatever capacity that you are called to in that moment. At least you're being intentional in helping to rewire that subconscious. And I'm celebrating you on that.
Thank you. This has been really great. I thank you so much. I'm going to put all of your contact information in the show notes. We'll get this up. And for the listeners, hang out. I'm just so grateful that Tiffany took time today to chat with us. So, with that, I'll say goodbye for this week and we'll do it again. Talk soon.